When we were planning this episode, you were talking about the fact that if you're a manager or a leader, you have essentially two things to do. One is to get the right set of results, and the other is to build relationships with the right people. And that could be the people that work for you, or people around you, or even people up from you, your manager and your executive team. And that a lot of people see a trade-off. They think, I'm either going to chase the results and sort of be this horrible, nasty, demanding person, and therefore burn relationships around me, or we spend a lot of time building the right culture and kind of being nice and making sure that the team is healthy and happy. And they're unquestionably both important, right? You can't have one without the other. So why do you think that so many leaders get that wrong, where they lean into one at the expense of the other?
It's a good question. I think the basis of that is a misunderstanding of what we mean when we're talking about maintaining relationships in general, but specifically also as leaders. I think if you assume that in order to maintain good relationships, maintain a good productive culture, an inclusive culture, if you assume that to do that, you have to avoid any form of strife or disagreement or conflict, then that is going to lead you down the path of sort of the ruinous empathy side of relationships, as Kim Scott has in Radical Candor. And similarly, it's also about the way you define results. If you think that results are exclusively the bottom line, how much income did we or profit did we make as a business this quarter to the exclusion of all else, then that could potentially lead you to start thinking that the softer side of how did you actually achieve that doesn't matter. And we've all worked for people who have got that balance wrong. We've
Yeah.
all worked with leaders who we are surprised by how little empathy they seem to have for what is going on around them. And I know that my tendency has always historically been to go too far the other way and to really prioritize the people in my team's well-being, often to the exclusion of actually demanding from them the results that I hired them to deliver.
Yeah, I think I've learned that same way too. I describe myself as a people first leader, and I think I've made a mistake. I think I've over indexed on that at times. Yeah, I'm so worried about the health and well-being of the team. Sometimes I take my eye off of the results, and it. I'm wondering, in your opinion, which kind of person generally succeeds? And when I say success, I mean, gets promoted, gets those bigger jobs. Is it the one who's sort of a sergeant major commander running around telling people what they want, disregarding people's feelings, really? Or is it the softer side, where people are just great people managers and they manage somehow to get the team to over excel? In your mind, we're like, and I know that one of the conclusions we're going to come to in this conversation is it's pretty much a balance. But if you haven't got that balance, who generally is more successful?
In my experience, that depends on where you're working. So if you are somewhere like a consulting company or a tech company, something like that, very corporate, very bottom line driven, then you see, in my experience, more of the brilliant jerk
Hmm.
promotion kind of side of things. When I was in the charity sector, very much the opposite. It was You were far more likely to see people who were very caring, very nurturing people leaders moving up the ladder. But then what that often meant was, when it came to a time when a push was needed, or a difficult decision had to be made that was going to upset some people, because realistically, the choice was between a rock and a hard place. And no matter which one of those you choose, not everyone is going to be happy. They would delay those decisions or not take those decisions, or just head in the sand, try to ignore that they were happening, because they were so concerned about trying to keep everybody happy. So
Yeah.
I realize that isn't necessarily an answer, because I've just said it depends, but I do think it is dependent on the culture of the organization that you're in.
Yeah. And and I've certainly been in situations, if you go right to the top, like CEO type level, and particularly over the last 4 or 5 years with COVID and everything that happened after that, it's become really clear to them as a business leader, they need to slim down. They need to remove some people, to keep the business alive. And there's no easy way of doing that. You're going to go out into your workforce and you're going to say to them, look, really sorry, but you bunch of people here no longer have a role in order that the business can survive. And of course, if they don't do that, the business will fail and everybody loses out, right?
Exactly, which should make it easier, but I don't think it really does
No,
for
it's
most of
never
us.
easy. No, I've been there. It's very difficult, very difficult.